Hello and welcome back. This video is not financial advice, and always do your own research. Pocket Network is a leading DePIN protocol which has over 500 billion relays served. This is a battle-tested protocol whose products are compatible across 50 plus different blockchains. Recently, Pocket Network announced their Shannon upgrade, which is a game changer for the entire ecosystem and the native Pocket token itself. And that's why in today's video, we are doing a sit-down AMA with Jinx, also known as POKT. This is a founding member of Pocket Network. We're going to be asking some questions so you guys have a better understanding about what's going on with Pocket and what the plans and designs are for the future. So without further ado, let's hop into it and get to know Jinx. So here we are with Jinx, one of the founding members of Pocket Network. Welcome, Jinx.
Good to be here. Nice to be on the Crypto Pando show.
Oh yeah, thank you. I'm very glad to have you. This has been long in the works. So let's go ahead and start things off fresh. We wanted to have an introduction of who you are and how you got to be involved with the Pocket Network.
It's kind of funny. I had two different careers. One was a corporate technology career when I got really frustrated with that whole process, and then broke out into the entrepreneurial space in 2009. Went through a lot of hard lessons, had my first failing startup, and then had my first successful exit around 2015, and started doing startup mentorship around then. And in 2017, I met Mike O'Rourke, who was the founding member of Pocket Network. And we actually had a boutique blockchain development agency together called Nonce Plus. While we were doing that, he was working on the idea for Pocket with a few of the co-founders. And in 2018, we pivoted around and focused on that. And I became the first full-time advisor and fractional marketing officer at the time.
So you were one of the founding members with Michael. Can you tell us a little bit about what the inspiration was around starting Pocket Network?
Yeah, so, Ethereum was, of course, the only real player at the time when it came to having an application space that you could build in as a blockchain developer. But 99% of people were accessing their blockchain data through Web3.js, right? The Infura offering. And when it went down, and it did, it took out all of DeFi for like 12 hours. And Michael's original idea was around making it easy to incorporate blockchain into mobile apps, which is why the name was Pocket. You could have blockchain in your pocket. But once that happened, there was a big pivot in focus to how do we decentralize access to all of these blockchains so that you don't have to worry about downtime when you're trying to get critical data that you need. And so the idea for Pocket was born from that, of decentralizing this access and making it broadly available so that there was always uptime for whatever your blockchain-based application was.
Great concept and great delivery thus far. We're going to be getting into the Shannon upgrade here shortly. But before we do so, I wanted to give a chance for the newcomers out there, maybe people who aren't familiar with Pocket Network, if you could give them a brief description of what Pocket Network is, what its use case is, and who it's really built for.
So Pocket Network is a decentralized, unstoppable open data platform. And a lot of people have described it as the crypto native API layer. Essentially, any form of open data that can be shipped back and forth with a JSON package can be passed through Pocket Network from its source in order to make sure that access to it is never interrupted. We started off, obviously, with blockchain as our primary use case and built out our beta over the last 4 years based on that. But since the Shannon upgrade, we now support any form of open data. So you can imagine clinical research data, private communications data like signal proxy relays, torrent type stuff, Tor nodes, you name it. If it's a decentralized data structure, AI, DeepSeek has been a very popular application lately with open, like decentralized instances. All of that can be supported by Pocket Network.
So with that, we know that Pocket is a decentralized API provider. Now, how is Pocket Network different from a centralized RPC provider?
So if you were using a centralized RPC provider, they own the entire network, right? So they have a central gateway, which accesses a private pool of nodes. And generally, there are some benefits to that. They tune that for high performance and QoS. They have full control of the network. But if any portion of their network goes down, you lose access to the data that you're relying on at the time. Additionally, if they come under commercial or political pressure to censor your data, they have an easy off switch. They can just turn off your access to your data at will. And we've seen this kind of thing multiple times in the past. MetaMask's primary backend shut off Venezuela accidentally for a couple of days around one of the political actions in regards to that. So people who think that their decentralized applications, DeFi, wallets, etc., are fully decentralized, generally are running through some single points of failure that they're not aware of as end users. Pocket solves that problem fundamentally. Anyone can access the network from anywhere, fully permissionlessly. All they have to do is stake against the network.
Love it. And so for those in the audience that aren't familiar, can you go ahead and describe them? What is RPC and why it is a critical layer within the Web3 stack?
Sure. RPC is a fancy slogan that just means the ability to call pre-built functions and procedures from a data source. RPC is the primary way that blockchain data is passed back and forth. WebSockets is the other, which we also support that. And basically almost everything that you see in crypto is running on RPC data. There are a handful of providers who are big players in the space out there, and almost every wallet, every DeFi platform, every NFT platform and marketplace, they are all sending billions of RPC requests daily.
So now that the audience has a general idea about Pocket Network, can you take a moment and describe the improvements that the recent Shannon upgrade brought to the network?
Yeah, I mean, the Shannon upgrade is the result of literally 4 years of testing. Our Morse version of the network is probably the longest and largest public open beta of a software ever. And we found some pretty significant issues along the way. One was QoS. It was difficult to manage the actual latency and quality of data that was running through the service. That led to the use of portals and gateways to try and solve that problem, but that just created the same problem that other centralized providers have, where you have a single point of failure. All of that is solved in Shannon. We are fully permissionless on the front end, so that gateways are no longer needed. You can use one of the several SDK offerings and build your app directly connected to the protocol without any person in between, and without any concern around having to navigate local jurisdictional issues about your data or whatever the case may be. The ability of the network to monitor and regulate around quality of service is now built into the protocol itself. So you're going to get high speed, low latency, accurate data requests from everything that you're querying for. We are no longer restricted to RPC data. Any form of open data at all is now accessible through the network. And with the addition of relay mining, if you're a data source, a provider of data, you can connect your data to Pocket Network and get paid for its access through the protocol as well. And that can all be done permissionlessly.
Yeah, and that's one of the most exciting parts about the update, in my opinion. Now, I have, through my research about Pocket Network, I have seen a rise in popularity in Korea in particular. And I was curious if you could shed some light on why the sudden surge in Korea for Pocket Network.
Well, Korea is probably one of the most important proving grounds in the world when it comes to utility based cryptos. They have a high level of adoption of crypto there in a consumer friendly but well regulated environment. Things like due diligence and the sound fundamentals of a project are critically important to be able to get onto their biggest exchanges there. And they aggressively audit your financials and your economics and all the rest of that. So if you can make it in Korea, you are well positioned to do well in the rest of the world. But also, because they're so far ahead of the curve in crypto adoption in general, they are moving forward on things that we're still just now talking about in the US. including baking blockchain applications into banking and other everyday use cases. And Pocket is a perfect partner for so many of those use cases there right now. We were sort of an experiment with them, I think, with our early Upbit listing, which was just a Bitcoin pair. After watching us for a year, they added the KRW pair, which just a couple of weeks ago, which is sort of like the seal of approval there, given that 90% of the Korean crypto marketplace uses the native Korean won currency. Yeah. So, I mean, we literally jumped from, 10 million a day volume to $1 billion in daily volume on that day, because it just broadly opened up that marketplace when they gave us that, yes, you guys are all right. We have a ton of plan for expansion. We want to be a de facto product in Korea because they have so many projects that we could be a good partner for.
Yeah, I recently saw you guys were in the top 5 of all trading tokens within BitHum, and then there was another Korean centralized exchange you guys were listed on as well, right?
So Upbit is the biggest by far. BitThumb is one, and then I think Corbit as well is another Korean exchange that we're supported on. And we actually held the #1 spot in volume on Upbit multiple days in a row. So that was really gratifying to see.
Yeah, all that hard work starting to pay off. That kind of brings me into my next question. I have heard some rumblings about an open data marketplace. And I was curious, how does that go beyond just RPC?
So, there are so many different types of open data out there. And I think that, our accelerator, for instance, was almost entirely focused on LLM applications. There are great decentralized LLM stacks like Llama 2 and DeepSeek has a decentralized implementation. There are other models that are coming out now. And if you are running a network of decentralized AI nodes, you need good data connections between those nodes and back to the end users themselves. And Pocket is great with that. But the way that we have it structured now, with the way that relay mining is set up and how data owners can themselves stake their data on the network, they set their own rates for access. So if you have similar product offerings, you can be competing on the price of the access of that data. And dApps and end users can decide which one they want to use based on, price versus quality and that sort of thing. And this is an on-chain native marketplace. It's not third party. It's not administered by people. It's literally you set your price and then dApps and users will decide based on fees and throughput and quality which one they want to use.
Do we have any idea about when the full launch of that open data marketplace might be?
I mean, all of the individual pieces are rolling out now post Shannon launch. So, I would expect to see a lot of these things coming online over the next 3 to 4 weeks or so. Probably almost everything fully supported within the next 2 months.
Wow. So the next 2 months, this is going to be an exciting time to be involved in the ecosystem. Now, for those that are interested in learning more about the Pocket token itself, could you share a little bit more about the tokenomics? I did recently see with the Shannon upgrade, there was an implementation of a burn mechanism, I believe. I'm just curious if you could share any other light about the Pocket token itself.
Yeah, I mean, ever since 2020 or so, proof of stake opened up the magical internet money faucet. And so inflation was everybody's favorite thing, to just have tokens printing out of thin air into money. And because of that, and because highly inflationary tokenomics aren't sustainable, we, along with many other projects, felt the burn of watching, pretty massive loss of value from a per token perspective as the inflation increased. But Web3 businesses really need to run on the same fundamentals that Web2 businesses do. And that means no magical internet money being printed out of thin air. We have customers who are spending real money, and they are paying producers who are receiving that real money. And that is the economics of the network. We have a mint equals burn tokenomics setup. So when you stake your Pocket against the network for throughput, every time you make a data request, that's burning Pocket according to the cost of that request. And that same amount of Pocket is minted to the providers who are actually meeting and answering those requests. So, I mean, it works the same way as, walking into a grocery store and paying for a banana. There's no extra money in that equation along the way. It's the price of the banana and the person who wants to buy it. And I think that tokenomics can't get any simpler than that. I'm
Yeah.
hoping that more Web3 businesses really get to this kind of sound business fundamentals, because Web3 has had such a bad reputation around ultra high inflationary Ponzi-nomics, and everybody tries to get in at the beginning during a big spike
Yeah.
and it all crashes.
And the crazy trades where it's, up, up, up and down, down, down. And it's kind
Exactly.
of for anybody new into crypto, just starting to get into a token, they end up buying at the top and then they get a bad taste of what Web3 really can be as far as a technological
And we had
perspective.
a lot of people who were super excited at Pocket when it was on its mega pump at the height of the 2021 bull. But then, of course, who felt burnt and as though they were, ripped off
Duped.
when
Yeah.
Pocket was not able to sustain that. But I
hmm
mean, economic math just doesn't work that way. Inflation is not sustainable. That's part of the issue that's constantly brought up with the U.S. economic system, right? The endless debasement of the U.S. dollar.
hmm
The fundamentals have to be sound. And we made the choice earlier this year, ahead of the Shannon network or Shannon upgrade launch, to just rip that Band-Aid off and take it down to core fundamentals. There is only mint and burn. We have currently a 0% net inflation on the network. And the way that the tokenomics work, we have a max allowance of 1.5% inflation possible, but that requires a full DAO vote with a specific use case, and it's not inflated to the network at large, only to the DAO treasury.
Wow. Yeah. Can't get more simpler than that. Yeah, I think the DAO part, the transition to the DAO is going to be very important. For any of the audience out there that may be interested in joining into the ecosystem, what are different ways that they can get involved with Pocket Network, whether that be from using the services, staking, or different ways that they can earn the token?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the most important audience types that we're interested in, of course, as developers, because we want people fundamentally building their apps ground up on unstoppable
Mhm.
data. So DevRel is a huge thing for us. If you are building dApps, we want you to look at Pocket. Our node running ecosystem is super important to us. If you have a data source now, it costs almost nothing to run a Pocket node right next to it, and that can make you eligible to start doing relay mining and earning for access to your data. And that also goes for all traditional blockchain nodes as well. If you're running a full blockchain node at home, add Pocket next to it. That's an easy thing to do. But also, with us moving on to a fully native Cosmos chain, we are going to open up validator delegation soon. And I think a lot of people who are familiar with delegating in Cosmos understand how you can essentially just delegate some value from your wallet to help secure the network through validation stake, and you share in the rewards that are produced from the validators themselves. So that's an easy way to be part of it. And then honestly, just core ecosystem contributors. If you want to join our Discord and tell us, how are you using it? What are your thoughts around it? What kind of tooling would be helpful? And of course, if you're building tooling, then we reward that with grants and subsidies as well. So
Oh, awesome.
we absolutely encourage developers of all types. But even if you're just a simple holder or investor, you are easily able to delegate or get connected with a node runner and stake on nodes as well.
And then, quick question, we haven't really covered it yet. I know that Pocket is eligible to be paired with, ETH, Solana, a lot of the big name blockchains. I saw there was over 50 blockchains in total. Is that correct?
Yep, and that's literally just blockchains. We already have running tests in beta for some of the other open data source types,
hmm
including DeepSeek and Llama 2 and Signal proxy relays and Tor nodes. I
Wow.
mean, if you are in the open data space at all, if you've been
hmm
running various types of decentralized or distributed applications, we can
Pocket Network has
probably
something for
support
you.
it. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's truly incredible. Love it. So we talked a little bit about the open data marketplace that is going to be finalized somewhere in the next 2 months. But what about for the rest of 2025 and even into 2026? Do you guys have any grandiose plans for the future?
Yes, actually, I have
Yeah.
quite a few grandiose
Okay, let's
plans.
hear 'em.
Um, So first of all, of course, we're shifting the entire ecosystem to be Cosmos native. So that's
Mm,
that's kind of in our near-term goals. We are getting set up with the Kepler ecosystem. That integration's already begun. We are looking at Cosmos governance and also integration with the Cosmos stablecoin, Noble. And we are looking at ways that we can possibly eliminate some of the translation action across tokens and reward participants directly in Noble from the system, since that's already
hmm
supported. I think that'll make life easier for a lot of folks who are already participating as well.
hmm
We are also looking at ways that we can get involved much more deeply with large scale projects. And I'm looking at, I mean, we talked about Korea earlier.
hmm
We've seen a number of efforts by countries like Korea and the US now. We're starting to see some movement to bring various data sources on chain. People have even talked about moving voting on chain. There are all sorts of implementation of data that needs to be public and open and be able to be verified by anyone. And Pocket is the perfect partner for that. Because
Wow.
we can scale quickly, we can support any of those kinds of systems, and we have easy to work with SDKs that would make spinning up dashboards and reporting systems and all that trivially easy for that kind of data access. So
Along
one
with
of the
cost
things that,
effective.
yeah, exactly, we're on a mission to really evangelize the other 90% of data that's not blockchain data currently, that can be accessed and tied in, and really draw together some of the non-blockchain data and blockchain architecture, which we think adds a lot of value to the accessibility and the unstoppability of data.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the voting. How amazing would that be if through the Pocket Network, voting was completely transparent, open source? Anybody could go ahead and check out the exact vote. Then there would be no more, oh, there's, any problems with voting. I think there's a lot of different accountability, whether you could think of nonprofit organizations that are supposed to be for the people. And really, if they're nonprofit and they're getting these tax advantages, maybe they should be open ledger through a platform like that. So
And I think
there's so
people really
much.
forget, like blockchain came, but originally we used to call these things DLTs, distributed ledger technology, right? It just didn't
Hmm
have the crypto layer aspect of it.
Right.
I started playing with Hashgraph years and years ago because it was like, look how cool this ledger system is. It's super fast and it's verifiable. It has this consensus thing,
hmm
and like people really forget that that's the foundation of it, not frogs or
Right.
small
Other
mints,
characters. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And so if you look at every single type of business that is running a ledger type application that requires any sort of auditing or public visibility,
hmm
blockchain is ideal for that. And they need to be able to distribute that data out there. The other thing is, I like to call it the free speech tech stack. When you are not using centralized providers to run your applications, it's very, very hard to stop your application, like
hmm
immensely difficult. So if
Right.
you're building on a system that uses, a cache for compute and storage for your file storage and the graph for maybe some custom index data views, and you're syndicating access to all of that with Pocket, like you do not have to worry about a boardroom somewhere deciding to turn off your
Yeah.
application. It is
Good luck.
untouchable.
Yeah. Good luck trying to do that because it's so spread out. It's just like people that are new into crypto, and when they first heard about Bitcoin, they're like, "Oh, what if they shut it off?" Well, it's distributed in so many different ways that it's impossible. And I
Exactly. And you
like
can
that.
build
That's
applications from top to bottom now using all decentralized tech. And there is no single person that can flip a switch and make your
hmm
application stop.
right. And it's so cool that you guys, that your platform, people are able to one stop shop, come there and build out their wildest dreams, all decentralized. It's truly remarkable, and I'm very glad that you guys are one of the players in the Web3 space. We have enough dog and cat coins, Pocket Network, building something that has real use case and real purpose. And yeah, couldn't
And one of
be
the
more
things,
excited.
once we're ahead of all the polishing up around the Shannon launch, one of the big initiatives that we're going to be focused on is building out a library of custom purpose SDKs that are built on top of our Access SDKs. So that
Yeah.
if you're building a communications app, or if you're building a data repository or a data lake or other types of custom use cases, you can just come to our repo, find the SDK that's customized to your use case, download that, and have an existing library of API calls across whatever data sources you want to fast track your application development.
And incredible. That's and all decentralized. Just love it. From the convenience of your home. And again, nobody outside of yourself is able to come in, and you just have full control.
And
Cost
fully open
effective,
source, mind you. You
open
can audit
source.
every
Yeah.
line of code.
And that is amazing. And that's one of the reasons why I was really fascinated by DeepSeek and you guys doing something extremely remarkable, being that marketplace type environment, helping someone from the very start to the very finish. So bravo to you guys. You've been there since the very beginning, 2017, and to now. The development has been outstanding. Shannon upgrade, everything I've read, very, very impressed. So I just want to say it's been an honor to talk to you. So I really, really appreciate our time. So for those in the audience that are interested in to either join in on this ecosystem, this community, or just want to learn more about Pocket Network, where could they go ahead and learn the most?
So obviously follow us on X. That's at Pocket
Mhm.
Network. Our Discord is where the vast majority of building happens. That's
Okay.
discord.gg/pocket-network.
Mhm.
And then for all the degens, we have the Poctopus Den on Telegram, which is where you'll see a lot more basement dwelling trade conversations and terrible jokes and memes.
Yeah.
So
That's my crowd, I'm be
MFA.
honest. Yeah, I totally feel that. So love it. So all of those links, guys, will be down in the description box below for you to go ahead and check out. Make sure to give them a follow. And Jinx, again, it was a pleasure to meet you. And I'll be joining you on that Twitter space here in about 30 minutes.
Beautiful. Thank you, sir.